Hi, my name is Nicole and welcome to my channel Heart Disease Diaries. Today I wanted to share some tips that I've learned along my journey of taking Coumadin. So if you're taking Coumadin or if you know somebody that's taking Coumadin, please stay tuned to the very end and be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks so much. I called the company that makes my artificial heart valve, and they told me that one of the biggest risk factors for having an event when you're on Coumadin is having anticoagulant variability. So he said having a really erratic INR that goes up and down is more dangerous than having, an INR that's consistently low or consistently high. So keeping your INR consistent is important, trying not to have it fluctuate so much. So the first tip that I would give is to have a pill box. I think this is super important when you have Coumadin because maybe if you're like me, maybe you do not take the same dose each day. I think it's really, really helpful to just have the day of the week in there. That way you can look at the day of the week and grab it. It's also a good way for you to see, if you've missed a dose accidentally. My next tip would be to take your Coumadin at the same time each day. I take my Coumadin every day at 5 p.m. and I take it, and then I feed Mr. Boots. So I'm on a very strict schedule with that. And I think that 5 o'clock is a good time because typically I'm done with work or I have a work break and I take it with a full glass of water. I think another thing to keep in mind is to obviously be careful. I have had bruises in places that I didn't know you could get bruises. I've had bruises on my eyelid from crying. I've had huge bruises on my legs, on my thighs. I've had bruises on my fingers. I've had bruises on my toes. I have had a lot of bruises. So just be careful. And I think sometimes the frightening thing about Coumadin is that you might wake up and be like, where did that come from? I didn't hit anything, I didn't fall, and it just happens. So just be careful because you are more prone to bleeding, especially be careful of your head. Another thing with Coumadin is just remembering the major interactors. So some of the major interactors that increase the INR or make your blood a little bit thinner are going to be cranberries, cranberry juice, cherries, grapes, watermelon, blueberries, raspberries, dark chocolate, and fudge. I've also noticed that dark chocolate covered nuts or chocolate covered almonds or any chocolate covered nut is going to increase the INR. There's something about the lipid with the chocolate together, and that is a food I absolutely love. So just if you do enjoy these foods, just be mindful or try to be consistent when you eat them. And then other major interactors, the other way that kind of thicken your blood, are really important to be aware of as well. This is your kale, your spinach, your broccoli, leafy greens, Brussels sprouts, or any kind of leafy green vegetable. I've heard this expression that in the United States we have the most expensive urine, and it's because, the multivitamin industry is probably $1 billion industry. I don't know, but I feel like we all take a lot of supplements. And I don't know if they're all necessary or if it's just kind of a ploy to get consumers to buy the thing. And I used to want to buy vitamins for my hair, for my skin, for my nails, or a vitamin for this, a vitamin for that. But it's like, ideally you want to get the vitamins and the nutrients from your diet. And especially if you're on Coumadin, some of these vitamins can really interfere with your INR or really put you at risk for bleeding. So just consult your doctor if you want to start a vitamin and ask them if it's actually really necessary and maybe get blood work done to make sure. Another thing is to, not beat yourself up if you accidentally forget a dose, but really try not to, but notify your anticoagulant management team right away. If you even think that you missed a dose, if you're looking at your pill box and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally missed that dose, call your care team. That way they can kind of coordinate when you get your labs drawn and just see if your numbers are way off. Another tip for taking Coumadin is to call your doctor and let them know if you've started a new medication. This is because a lot of things unfortunately interact with Coumadin, and if you are given a new medication, like even a statin, it might really interact with Coumadin. And so that is just good to notify them with. Another tip for taking Coumadin is to, when you are traveling or when you're going to be in a car for an extended period of time, I think it's important to just, get out of the car once in a while and give yourself breaks. That way you can stretch, that way you can move your body, that way your body is not going to be prone to like making clots. Stretch your arms and legs as frequently as you can. If you're on a plane, kind of, try to get out and walk in the aisles, but just kind of move your body as much as you can. I know it's challenging when you're traveling, but just try. Another tip for managing Coumadin, and this is a little uncomfortable for me to talk about, and I just don't think that this is talked about a lot, but if you are on blood thinners, especially Coumadin, and you are a menstruating female, I just want to normalize that there can be a lot of blood loss. So if you notice heavier menstrual periods, I have learned from Mayo Clinic that there is something you can do about it. At first I was told that I would never be able to be on birth control because of the hormones and the stroke risk. But when I spoke with Mayo Clinic, they said that, heavy menstrual bleeding is unfortunately common when you're taking Coumadin and you are menstruating. So they told me that you could get Mirena, that I could get Mirena, and they actually recommended it because I've also had a history of anemia because of a lot of blood loss with Coumadin. So if you're menstruating and you just have noticed a lot of blood loss every month, I know that it's so challenging to live with, but know that if you're comfortable, and again, this is your body, your choice, but if you're comfortable, Mirena might be a good choice for you. I really felt like that opened up my world when they told me that, because honestly, I just honestly thought I could never take birth control because of things I've been told from other doctors. So the fact that, they recommended it to alleviate some of this bleeding was like so relieving. And I've not gotten any birth control yet, but it is something that I think in the future I probably will get. I think another thing, that I want to point out is when you're first taking Coumadin, and I know like if your range changes or if you're first taking it, I know it can be a little bit frustrating. You might feel like those numbers aren't moving or they're moving way too much. It will even out eventually, just hang in there, and eventually your INR will go into range, and then it's all about just consistency. So I hope that these tips were helpful for you. These are just some things I've learned along the way. And again, it's not perfect. I'm still learning every day. I hope that wherever you're at in your recovery journey, that you stay safe. Thanks for watching.